Man, those are powerful pieces, huh? He put it to him. Find out. There's your homework. Find out, is what he said true? So it's funny because they're going to now what? They're now going to demonize Tea Parties. They're demonizing veterans. They're demonizing, 9/11 truthers who only say, hey, you're not telling me the truth. So when you start doing that, and at the same time you pass laws like the Patriot Act, which of course this fascist signed at night. Yeah, you didn't see that. He signed the health care bill in front of everybody, but he reauthorized the Patriot Act, didn't he? He put another 40,000 troops in to Afghanistan, right? And more contractors. Oh, by the way, what's the first thing he's going to do? Here's another little video piece for you.
I will promise you this, that if we have not gotten our troops out by the time I am president, it is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home. We will bring an end to this war. You can take that to the bank.
So why is all this important? Why this creation of a police state? Why is the Department of Homeland Security training Boy Scouts to go after veterans? Don't believe me? Check out the New York Times. Here's Ron Paul, okay? And why you should listen to Ron Paul? Because he says, hey, we're now debating whether or not we can assassinate Americans.
Post 9/11 atmosphere that really worries me. It worries me about how much our CIA is involved overseas. And this week, I could not believe a headline that said the president was considering the legality of assassinating an American citizen. Now, this is true. It's true. He was born in this country, and he's a Muslim. And he's identified to be with people who don't like us. So they want to declare him an enemy combatant, which they can do by, like the Attorney General, the President, oh, he's an enemy combatant, and therefore he has no rights. Well, you say, well, yeah, but he's a terrorist. Well, no, he is maybe a suspect, and nothing has been proven, and he might be a bad guy. But is that the way you take care of bad guys, talking in the White House about assassinating this guy? I mean, what happens if conditions get really bad and we start talking to each other about some of the terrible things that Washington, D.C. is going to us? Are we going to be enemy combatants? Because the precedent has been set already for American citizens to be in prison indefinitely. This is why we should protect the civil liberties of all suspects, and we shouldn't be putting people in prison in secret rendition and without a trial, without due process, without an attorney, and then on top of that, add on torture. That to me is not what America is all about. So these fears that I have and that you may have is connected to the economic system, because if the economic system breaks down, then there's going to be more challenges. People, most Americans endorse the idea that after 9/11, oh, we're under attack. What do you want us to do? And just so many times I would hear, even if going through the lines at the airport, well, if this is what it takes, we have to give up some of our freedoms to be free. And, it was said a while ago, which I strongly endorse, that you don't have to give up your liberties to be free. Matter of fact, if you give them up, you can't be free. And yet a lot of people believe that. And if we have turmoil in this country, the same thing is going to happen. Yes, there will be a lot of poverty and a lot of problems and law and order breakdown. And they say, well, do whatever you can to make us safe and secure. Governments can't make you safe and secure. Do you think you're safe in your house because there's a policeman guarding your house? You're probably more safe in your house because of the Second Amendment than you are because of a policeman. But because of the threat and the undermining of our civil liberties and the possibility of losing the right of habeas corpus, and the potential of our system breaking down, this is why the monetary system is so important.
You wouldn't have believed me, but you know what? You should pay attention to the news because you're a real story viewer. And real story viewers aren't afraid to think for themselves. Real story viewers aren't afraid to ask questions. They're not afraid to stand up. And when they see fascism, they call it fascism. Okay, and so when the government takes over all the medical stuff, I wonder why Hitler did it, huh? Could he then say that, well, gee, we don't want you doing that, or we're going to tax you extra if you what? If you have a beer or a suntan, or when you go into a tanning booth? Because now we're going to tell you what the prescribed dosage and the prescribed medicine is. And it just so happens my big pharmaceutical buddies and insurance companies wrote it. I talked to a guy at work, and he's like, oh, the insurance companies, they didn't want the health care. And I said to him, I said, William, boy, aren't they now mandated to get 40 million new health insurance customers? 40 million. Yeah, that didn't benefit the health. You know, it's like the Briar Rabbit. Don't throw me in the briar patch. No, don't throw me in the briar patch. I don't want to go in the briar patch. How often can you be lied to? Why don't you start caring? Are the Patriots that much fun to watch? I don't get it. I don't get why people don't want to wake up. So anyway, that was, once again, what did the Russians do right when they're marching in the streets to get rid of Putin? They conveniently have a little terrorist attack. Boy, isn't that all convenient? It's funny because if you remember Russia, they attacked, the terrorists supposedly, attacked some school. Remember those things? And then it found out that it was the actual Russian secret, their KGB, which is now the FSB or something. I don't know what they're called, but you know what? They're just the CIA in another color. And what makes you think the CIA and the Mossad and MI6, what makes you think they work for you? Gee, all this that they've done has been for the bankers and for global elitists who put poisons in your food, but you think they work for you, don't you? Yeah. Keep thinking that way. The programming's working. They do call it programming, by the way. So anyway, here we go. Yeah, U.S. Justice Department, 7 state attorney generals are investigating Monsanto for a monopoly on seeds. Oh, yeah, who's going to control all the seeds? That's an interesting thought. U.S. 7th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thousands protest the White House calling for an end to the Middle East wars. Speakers point out that Obama, that's Barry Soetoro, also known as President Hussein nowadays, okay, that speakers that his campaign promises and has continued the policy of Bush administration that he condemned. Now, remember what the first thing he was going to do was, because I got to show it to you every time.
It is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home. We will bring an end to this war. You can take that to the bank.
Because they're telling you the truth. It's about health care. Here we go. This one is, I'm going to have to go with the dark thing of thinking. It's sad. But I'm going to tie it into this, and that is that in the U.S., 17% of military troops are given psychiatric drugs, even in combat zones. These drugs can impair reaction time and increase the risk of suicide. It is no coincidence that suicide is among the military personnel. They're at an all-time high. You have to see this. Here's a video the Army doesn't want you to see. I'm sorry I have to bring it to you, but you citizens out there, okay, because you Sharon residents have to get off your derrieres, okay? This is what's going on. Get the real story.
When a TV cameraman came up to me and asked me some questions, I told him right off the bat, I said, I'm really glad to be home, I'm proud of my service, but I am against the war in Iraq. And I know that some family members and some friends weren't pleased that I said that. They thought it was maybe inappropriate at that time. But if every soldier comes home and they just say that they're glad to be home, then no one's going to know the truth about what's going on in Iraq.
Flags are bits of colored cloth that governments use first to shrink wrap people's brains and then as ceremonial shrouds to bury the dead.
The U.S. military as an institution is very corrupt and is built upon spreading death. To me, the idea of having a force like the U.S. Army participating in nation building is just asinine. I mean, we're nation destroyers. That's what we're trained to do.
We were all congratulated after we had our first kills. My company commander personally congratulated me. This is the same individual who has stated that whoever gets their first kill by stabbing them to death will get a 4-day pass when we return from Iraq.